Hello everybody, I'm Matthew Brune here with head coach Grant McCasland for North Texas basketball, and today we're going to be going through some film sessions, some X's and O's throughout their season. So, Coach, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Let's have some fun.
You're the pro here, man.
Hey,
I'm going to learn from you.
No,
Glad you got the marker.
No, we're good. All right, so first play here, Loyola Chicago. Obviously, this was a game where defensively they're one of the best teams in the country. We saw what they did to Illinois, to everybody basically. They're a switch-heavy team. They have, outside of Krutwig, obviously. What was y'all's mindset going into this game early in the season as y'all still kind of tried to feel out what y'all had on offense?
Yeah, we'll give them credit because, to your point, I mean, one of the best defensive teams, and I thought their ball screen coverage was just significantly better than what we'd even faced up to that point. I mean, the way they squeezed the ball and how they guarded it over, under, and space, and the way they communicated it early was the best we'd faced. And we knew they would be good, but on a short turnaround, and we scheduled the game, and within 48 hours we were playing. So the prep time wasn't as significant as we wanted. And more so going into the game, we felt like it was going to be a low-scoring, low possession game, and we knew it would be a grinder. But when we actually saw it in person, they changed a little bit the way they were defending ball screens. They didn't defend it the way they did in previous games. Like we'd watched Illinois State play against them, and ball screen coverage was different. So in this one, I thought they did a really good job of attacking Javion and making him give up the ball in gaps. And he was trying to create and was trying to really make plays, and we tried to play through him. And this is where we kind of learned as a team that we'd have to involve different people in ball screens. You know, we thought maybe we could take advantage of Krutwig in this situation, but we couldn't because his coverage was so simple and so clean and needed to deliver it. But their length and their actual ball pressure on Javion really caused us problems in this one. This is probably the most frustrating game offensively we had early, and I did a poor job in this game with Javion of just preparing us. I thought, we'll learn from it, but this is where we started scheming more and changing things after this game because we got exposed. Yeah,
because you come up and set a staggered ball screen here, and the hope here, did you know they were going to probably switch this with Ugwak once this plays through here? Or were you hoping to get just a rub to get to the basket here?
Not necessarily, because actually the lineup, and I can't remember his name, but they had a senior guard. I'm going to blank it. Maybe when I see him. But he's not in the game right now. But he was the one that guarded Javion a majority of the game. This was a switch when they came off the bench. But we did hope we'd get the switch. This obviously in these scenarios, you try to get the confusion, but they did such a good job of getting to it. Getting in front of Javion, it's like the play here was probably to drag it back and to even kind of shoot to bring him and then attack him. And we were trying to move the ball. So Javion, to his credit, was really trying to move it for us, right? Like get the switch, make a move, and then maybe get it back to him. But they were gapping and denying after
if you can get it to Thomas here, he has a little bit of length here, but this denial, like you said,
it bogged us down.
Forces a lot of problems.
That's what they kept doing to us, is just kind of eliminating all the action and going over, squeezing the ball. This is where you hope ultimately where you deliver the ball to a forward and let him be the playmaker in this situation. But it's such a tight window, and they get back and their movement is on the flight of the ball. They don't move after the ball's moved. They're moving when it moves. So just to their credit, man, what a significantly, tough defensive team that you can tell they put a lot of emphasis on what they're doing.
All right, Coach. Next play up from the same game. The offense, like we talked about, kind of struggled early in the season, but defensively, y'all were able to stay in games because of y'all's activity here. As we see, Zach on the ball, Reese getting through screens really well. Drez off the ball, and Thomas sitting in the paint trying to clog it up there. What did you see? Also, really good switch there and help from Zach late in that possession. Just what did you see in this possession and what was key in it just to really keep y'all's defense going?
Yeah, and this is where Zach was big for us. On the pickup, and Krutwig was their best passer, actually. Like, they played through him so much. And their favorite action actually happened on the weak side. So Krutwig, this handoff is hard to guard. but we decided we were going to be physical, like really try to go over the top of it, right? And go get into it. But the point that they score off of it is when Krutwig catches it inside the 3-point line, and he's here with the basketball. And to Zach's credit, this is where in short turnaround, having a guy like Zach Simmons who actually has such great defensive concepts, they'll put the forward here on the perimeter and put the best shooter here. And on this action, as you can see, they just screen in when he comes off this. So you're thinking, hey, help.
Yeah.
And as soon as he picks the ball up, immediately, they'll just snap it on this little skip and screen in. It's not a flare screen. It's really, just kind of like pinning in the help with the top slot. And they throw this pass. So if you'll watch, the best thing Zach does is he actually overcrowds even to the point where he doesn't give that up. So every time there was a catch on a pickup, Zach's job was do not let him throw the skip to the slot. Yeah. And to his credit, and as you can see, you got Drez who's paying attention, and Thomas is the help guy. So we knew from a scheme standpoint, that's where Coach Hodge, Coach B, Coach Ream were so dialed in on what we wanted to do, and our team were able to execute that perfectly. And then the switch, we worked on this a ton. This is where Zach also got better, is how do we recognize when we need to help and make sure that every shot's contested. And then if you watch, Reese did a tremendous job of creating that, that rebound area, and then we get it and able to play.
Sure. All right, Mississippi State, obviously a big team, SEC opponent on the road. This is y'all's defense was able to keep y'all in this game, and just what did you see on this possession?
Well, initially on the catch, you get an opportunity to see the switch just with Javion on any kind of simple interchanges before the back screen action. But then this is where Zach's intelligence and his ability to play in our system for so long. He helps on this back screen, calls it out. Javion does the right thing. Shouldn't try to go the other way. You should go and fight over the top and lock and trail this, which is great. We're talking at the rim. And then when this happens, Thomas recognizes there's a ball screen. Zach calls out the back screen, then calls out the ball screen coverage and gets up and gets as level as he possibly can. And then you see Thomas on the weak side, and you see Javion, and this is where our defense was good. If you want to talk about where we were good, it's how do you get to this midline. Now the ball's dictated on what side it is, and so when you see the ball on a side, now we have everybody on that side of the court, midline lined up, nobody's extended. We want to protect the paint, and Zach does a good job. He stays in front of the ball because what our rule is, if Ruben's not back in front, you have to stay in front of the ball. And Zach goes and realizes Ruben doesn't get back in front, and he goes and fights for position, doesn't give him a direct line to the basket, makes him arc out and shoot a running shot down the lane line and uses athleticism. And if you'll rewind it at the very end of the clip, my favorite part is you see Javion hitting the roller and being physical, and everyone talked about maybe our lack of size. Over the
even
course
Thomas
of our
coming down to hit.
Always cracking down and rebounding and seeing and making sure that you got physical box outs. It's all the little things. And that's where Javion, his recognition as he got more and more involved in what we did, the little things, his ability to maybe take people out of play and physicality is where he's underrated as a player. He's a winner.
And not for nothing here, Drez being one pass away, you don't want to help off the corner there. And that's something maybe young players will just instinctively, they see a ball in front of them and they might just go, oh, I can get a dig here, I can get a rip here. And he stays home and lets the bigs do his job. And that's a really impressive play defensively. And that's what kept you on this game and gave you a chance at the end.
Definitely. We were on the struggle bus scoring the ball.
Next up, we're going to go to the UTEP series, specifically looking at early conference play. It was a time where the starters were kind of in a little bit of a struggle offensively. You brought Ruben and JJ in off the bench, and they were able to spark y'all a little bit moving forward. This is the second UTEP game, the game where they were a lot more enthusiastic on defense, a lot more intense, and really gave y'all trouble early on. Here, we'll just look at it. Ruben getting the call, coming up, setting a ball screen. Terrence comes up, sets a ball screen. I think his patience is really impressive, and it showed, if he doesn't get it once, he gets it again. Doesn't force it, gives it to Zach. Post up, and then this is where JJ, I think, really did really good things for the offense, just as far as cutting, moving off ball, spotting up. But what did you see here?
Yeah, the biggest thing that Ruben scored 100 points a bunch in high school. So what a dramatic difference he had to try to learn. And first of all, what you see is his eyes are always up. I mean, you know, bad guards, if you want to watch TV and see a bad guard, you'll see his eyes are down at the feet of you know, like as if you're looking at the floor, trying to figure out what the floor is going to do. And this is where Ruben's vision is, his instincts, and give JJ credit. He's in perfect spacing. Zach's in perfect spacing, and just trying to read ball screens and manipulate it. And Ruben got better at it as time went on. You know, the best thing he did here is not just put his head down and maybe try to drive it, didn't like it, and wanted it again. And we wanted to try to get this switch. We wanted to try to see if we could get them to, because they showed hard, you know, they were kind of switching, trying to figure out. So we wanted to get, you know, their best offensive player in a ball screen. And, you know, Ruben in this gap comes off, makes the simple play, doesn't try to sneak one in on a hard roll, or doesn't try to throw it all the way over the top. This is where he got good. And Zach's patience inside. And then JJ just knowing what he's good at, right? Like always finding ways to get a paint touch. And we hadn't got a paint touch in this possession is one thing we really try to stress. And then that's where JJ added a different element to us, is kind of his physical play. And it's not like his athleticism above the rim, but his physical play in the paint really gave us another threat of getting the ball. And you can dribble in there, you can pass in there, and you can cut in there. And to JJ's credit, he really had a great understanding of what we wanted. And then also to finish and get his eyes up on the rim and play through contact, which is what he was doing at 11 p.m. at night, coming back and working by himself doing these things. So hard work puts himself in position, Zach's patience, and obviously Ruben being able to make the simple play.
Just a savvy player. And obviously when we talked before the season about Ruben, I was like, all right, is he like kind of a raw player? And you were like, no, he's the opposite of raw. He can see the game really well and can process things really quickly. And that's on full display early in the conference season. And when y'all needed him, I mean, with UTSA, UTEP, Rice even, he just continued to kind of improve, and he already had such a high floor that we weren't expecting it that quickly. At least we weren't.
Yeah, well, the best thing about Ruben is when he would make the wrong play, as the ball was leaving his hands, he would actually tell the guy he made the wrong play. This is where you know that there's a maturity level to how he played the game, regardless of maybe he could play maybe a little loose at times. He always recognized as the play was developing what his mistake was, which is, I mean, honestly, that's 1 in a million people can do that. And he's one of those guys that can make those reads, and he learns as he's doing it, which is really fun to see. Sometimes you have to show a lot of film to somebody for them to learn. He sees it immediately and goes, I can't make that mistake again. Really, really unique that he can recognize it as it happens.
All right, next we're going to look at Rice. We're going to look at JV on ball screen. And a point that you made to me before that I really love is you can't use every ball screen. You have to turn down actually a lot of them, which I don't think a lot of people understand. I actually didn't even understand it until I started watching y'all more and started understanding why you just turned down some ball screens here. So if you want to talk us through this one.
Yeah, Javion, his pace, and you know, we kind of played a medium pace, so it's not always like how do you get, but this is a good little action for us. We get the ball reversal. Ball reversals and paint touches against man are how you become an efficient offense. And right now we got Thomas playing at the forward spot, trying to utilize his ability to stretch the floor. And when you see Javion, he gets to the elbow and he breaks open first, which is a small part of the game, but this is where he's a student of it. And he doesn't allow them to deny him, and everybody didn't want him to catch it. So he got so good at doing that. And on the catch, if you recognize, he doesn't dribble. Like, you don't put that already where the guy can climb into you. So he doesn't dribble. He sees the floor. And on this cross screen, Thomas sprints into it and gets on the high side. And Javion, to your point, understood that the best guards turn down, refuse at least half the ball screens. So that needs to be your mentality. If he gives it to you, and as you can see, this defender's back, and Thomas does a good job of just not giving away an angle, just kind of like leading toward the middle, but he doesn't run to the high side on it necessarily to set the screen. But really my favorite part as he turns this ball screen is the spacing. So if you look at the weak side, you got Reese in the corner, you got JJ here at the wing, and that's free throw line extended. And if you look at Reese, he's below the block, which is a line that we like to say. And then you got Ruben on this slot, and we want him to be on this side of the lane line, which is where he is, which is perfect. That way it gives Javion and Thomas plenty of room if Thomas wanted to pop here or if he wanted to cut to the corner off of it in case how they guarded it. But on his ball screen attack, which Javion turns it down, now you got perfect spacing, and we love this slot. I mean, this wing basket cut in between. It gives him an easy angle to throw the ball, and it also is empty because we don't have a true traditional forward in the game. And then Javion typically does such a good job of creating the contact and finishing at the rim. And, you know, because of Reese being in the corner and that help defender having to come all that way, he's late. So ball spacing is really the key of how that works. But Javion's ability to turn the ball screen down and our spacing allows that to be effective.
All right, another Rice clip here later in the game. I wanted to highlight this. Just obviously, Javion, you late in games is such a great player, such a closer for y'all. You have Zach here and potentially coming to set a screen. What went into the decision to drop him back, or is that just kind of a moment thing, or is that a feel thing, or just how do you kind of assess that?
Well, if you look at the game, Javion had been playing well, and so he's always got confidence in himself. That's the one thing you appreciate. And as a coach, you try to match that with maybe what the team needs. And over the course of the game, we'd set a lot of ball screens. And in this situation, we like the matchup. And sometimes when you add that other defender, even though it maybe creates an opportunity for someone else, we knew Javion and his ability to finish games, one, get fouled when he gets into the paint, and two, he can always get a shot off. He just can get a shot off. He can get in the paint and find a way to get a floater off. And in this point, everybody knows. And to your point, you know, the best teams really know where to go on the floor all the time. And when we have struggled the most, especially in a situation where there's not a lot of time left, you don't want to give up baskets. And you said it before the clip, but you love that there's recognition that when your point guard gets in the paint to go make a play, you got to get back, and your guards have to make sure that you got defensive transition balance. And you see Drez and JJ, I think that's who it was on the other side, sprint back, and you want those forwards at the rim rebounding. But Javion was so deadly with the floater, and we liked the matchup, and he wanted it, so we made sure we cleared it out. And kept the size away from the ball. Yeah,
because you always hear late in games. I mean, that's why there's so many isolations in the NBA at that level, is because you don't want to bring a second defender and maybe make them take an extra dribble or so, and really bring us and force the big also to make a read and react type play. If he catches at the free throw line, that's another tough play for him, and you just want to simplify it basically late in games.
Especially with a guy like Javion who understands what to do with the basketball and how to get his own shot. You know, it's not for everybody, but in his case, we would err, especially at the end of the season, on the side of giving him more space than trying to create more confusion by bringing defenders to him.
All right, now we're looking at UAB. Obviously, they come in and they beat y'all twice at home right before the conference tournament. Plays like this kind of were the cause of concern for a lot of people going into this tournament, where I don't want to say the physicality win, but defensively y'all were all there. It's just UAB kept coming at you physically and making plays, making tough plays like these. What did you see from UAB, and do you feel like, how were y'all able to bounce back from plays like these where they were kind of just being physical?
Yeah, you know, a lot of this is communication. You know, what a great job. Shots usually go to the weak side, so we try to rebound the weak side. That's what I loved about the beginning of the possession. You saw Thomas and JJ. The shot was taken from this side, long shot, long rebound. It takes 5 guys to be a good rebounding team. You can't count on one person. So initially, when you just talk about UAB in that matchup, it really was 2 teams that were comfortable playing a championship style of basketball.
Yes.
I mean, you can get in the half court, and it can come down to, like, how physical can you be and not rely on 3-point shots exclusively? How do you get paint touches? And they were grooved. I mean, give them credit. They had an edge coming into this. They knew, our guys knew what was at stake. And there's not a lack of physicality.
No.
I mean, just give them
really
credit.
Good defense.
Yeah, and at the point, the contest, and then you see JJ. He sees him coming down the lane. Thomas sees him. So we're taught to go rebound weak side. What we'd like to see is Abu get back into the play right here. And this shows you, you know, just being a freshman, learning. Reese is staying where he needs to stay, actually, probably get to the elbow, but just like to get Abu back in there quicker, which is what he learns from this.
And y'all always teach, shot comes from this side, most of the time it goes to the opposite side.
No question.
So that's where the primary focus is. It's not as much on Nicholson, I believe it is here. as much as it's, so you give up an offensive rebound there. I also think just the communication here and the reflexes to get back into the play. Javion, I mean, you're in a scramble situation. Obviously, you want to keep in front, but that's a tough situation for Reese rotating from the bottom here.
And that's where Abu's going to take a charge 9 out of 10 times for us. That's where that's the play that needs to be made, and that's the anticipation instead of leaving his feet and being able to pass and land. I mean, that's probably Abu didn't last probably long after that highlight. That was about the end of it. And then they're able to get offensive rebounds because you stay in rotation. That's where you don't want to be in rotations.
Yes.
And Abu was in rotations the first time because he went up to contest the shot on the ball screen, didn't get back into the play. And this is where give them credit. And they came in here with a lot of grit and found ways, and it definitely made us better as a basketball team in preparation for postseason.
All right, now let's get to the conference tournament. Jump straight to the championship game. Western Kentucky up 5-0 early. This was a pivotal stretch in y'all's ability to get this lead. What do you see here defensively? Let's start with the defensive side of the ball and just trying to force jumpers here for Western Kentucky, who's obviously a very big team with Anderson, Williams, Bassey.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at this team, their strength is getting the ball into Bassey, getting the ball into Williams on this side and trying to take advantage of it. So we're just basically baiting the perimeter shot, and this is where your defense has to be adaptable. You have to have guys that have an understanding of what everybody wants personnel-wise from a scout standpoint. The hard part about what everybody wants to see us do is play faster in transition, but when you get in postseason, not every game allows you to do it. So there is a fine line. I think we'll play faster moving forward, but I love this composure by Reese. It doesn't feel like he's got an advantage. Gets good spacing. Zach does a good job manipulating, and Javion just makes the simple play. And then Reese gets something that is him, where he feels confident, and Zach putting pressure on it. And, this is where, as a team, understanding maybe time, score, the pace that we want to play, how we want them to defend us, not just come down and because they were better with the faster the game went. So we wanted them to feel like, hey, you're going to have to come down and guard us every possession. And that's what I love about what Reese recognizes here.
And even just getting the quick advance, not that it gets a bucket or anything. It doesn't even cross-match them really to this point, but just getting a quick advance here just puts a little eyes are on the ball here. It's like, okay, is he going to go? Is he going to drive? And you can just set up from there, and that forces the defense at least to work earlier in this possession here. The flipping of the screen here isn't a big deal because he's not fully set on this side. He's kind of flat right here.
Pause that, will you?
Go ahead.
Well, if you look at just right before it, look how deep Reese is into this corner. I mean, as you see him, he's almost, all the ways underneath that block, which once again, look how flat Anderson has to be. So he isn't able to get up and tag that earlier. And this is why Reese gets the shot. This is the thing that people don't see is like, oh, he just throws it to Reese. No, because he has to, on the help, when the ball gets thrown here, he has to be all the way at the block to do it. Instead of being up at the elbow, he can get back to a shooter quicker. And these are the fundamentals to spacing that maybe get overlooked from the fan perspective, but when you look at it on film and you stress it, Reese understands that this is his best chance to be able to get the long closeout is to create the flattening of the defense and make him help all the way to the block on the roll.
And because, it's not just a catch and shoot either. This is something you have to work on, rotating up, catch, shoot on the move. Boom. The balance on that shot is incredible.
Take it back to one other thing, and this is where I love Javion's recognition, and it's simple as this. But if he throws the ball right when he comes off this ball screen, when he flips it to the middle, if he throws it right here, it's obviously could be red, and it could be even to Zach in this. But he makes Bassey take his foot all the way outside the lane line. And when you have to take the big that far stretched over, and if you look at this, they have 4 guys on that side of the lane. That's how you manipulate a ball screen. It's not even like he got downhill. He just created the movement to make it where Anderson has to stay a little longer than he wants. And then you get Zach, who does a great job of heading the rim. Just enough space to get Reese a wide open 3.
Probably one of my favorite clips from the Western Kentucky game, the clip that got you jumping out your shoes in overtime is this Thomas Bell shot, but a lot before the shot even goes up, because they work the entire possession. It's a 28-second clip here we have, is the composure of this team just always stands out. And that's what it is for me. So you can Go ahead.
Well, Javion tries to turn the ball screen down. If you watched it first, the first thing he did on the catch is he gets it and he tries to turn this ball screen down, which creates the setup for it coming to the middle. And then you see the Thomas Bell movement on the weak side to occupy it. And then he comes off and he probes and he passes to the open guy. And then that's what I love about Thomas. Instead of going baseline and barreling himself into no space, he gets to the middle and he puts 2 feet in the paint and he jump stops. And this is where the fundamentals of Ross Hodge, Matty B, and Coach Ream every day. We just worked on it in the summer, just this morning. I mean, this is how you win games in the postseason. This is what you work on. So Thomas is on balance. You get a great cut by Drez, and he throws it. Zach catches it, ready to shoot. And then where does Zach go instead of going baseline against Bassey? He goes back to the middle, which is now you get 2 paint touches. And Zach tries to put pressure on him, which I love because he'd been scoring. Bassey does a heck of a job defending. He doesn't throw up a bad shot, even though time with 7 seconds would make you think not a bad time to shoot one if you're just trying to get one up. Sure. But to your point, there's a lot of composure. Thomas thinks he's going to shoot it. Thomas sees that he doesn't. He gets to 3. And up to this point, this is fun. Yeah. Thomas was 0 for 6, I think. And this previous timeout, he was discouraged. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, you're going to make the biggest 3 when it matters the most. Like, you can't get discouraged. It's not to say I want you to just stand out there and jack, but he already tried to get close to the rim, got to the paint. He tried to wedge for a rebound, and now he put himself in position on this penetration. Honestly, I'd like for Thomas to go to the block underneath because on baseline penetration, you got to occupy the corner. But Thomas goes out a little deeper, and this is where Drez, if you're going to run baseline, you got 2 options. You either jump out of bounds and throw a drift pass or a baseline corner pass, or you jump stop or pull it back and pivot. But because there's 4 seconds left, Zach does the right thing. He goes to the front of the rim. We want Javion to be moving to the wing and Thomas to be in the corner. But as the possession goes on, just like defense gets a little sloppy, sometimes offense
and does. It's overtime here. After y'all's 4th game in 4 days, these guys are playing 40 minutes each here. To catch the ball out of your pocket, out of your shooting pocket, as you're moving back.
But if you see, he fights back for position, and he doesn't land on 1 foot. He doesn't flare when he gets back. That would be the tendency of it, right? You catch it, and you end up backwards. He lands on 2 feet with his balance perfect, and Zach goes and tries to wedge or weak side rebounding, and the other guards get back. I mean, it's like textbook from a catch and shoot, rebounding, defensive balance standpoint. Probably not great fundamentals on the pass in regard to leaving your feet, but when you get late in the clock, you got to go make a play, and a heck of a play by Drez to find Thomas open, and then obviously it takes a lot of reps to make that shot when it matters and you're fatigued like Thomas was.
All 5 players this possession just showed that championship poise that y'all need. All right, now let's get to the big win here over Purdue. Defensively, I thought is where y'all really won this game, and in overtime especially, holding y'all they had Williams coming at y'all. I mean, the dunk is at the end of regulation sometime. But going into this game, I was a proponent. I thought y'all matched up really well with them. And from a size perspective, Zach on Williams, Thomas Bell on Gillis, and you go from there. This was, I thought, the play of the game, or one of the plays of the game that allowed y'all to win this. And I think this showed Thomas Bell's just continued pressure that he brings on defense.
Well, we like to keep the ball on a side, and initially, obviously, Zach doesn't let him catch it close to the basket. I mean, just nothing close, make him fight. He's extended off the block because they want to catch it closer to the basket and do a great job. Zach just does of just getting an arm and a leg, and then Reese doesn't let the ball go to the middle, makes him penetrate baseline. We help, and we wanted Thomas to kind of be the rim help guy in this scenario, and so that's kind of our big defense philosophy part is like, who's got the rim? That's what we talk about all the time in our defense. Like, once the ball gets on a side, who's got the rim? Well, Javion's kind of staying extended. Even though Thomas is guarding up top, he's kind of sneaking to the rim because we wanted him to protect as much as possible. So not basically...
And Gillis isn't the three-point shooter that the other 2 on the wings are.
And we don't necessarily want to do this often, but it's part of like the scheme that we're trying to put into the game of who we want at the rim, because the rim's kind of a big dictator of where our defense rotates from. So as the ball, Reese does a great job of being active with his hands. Thomas goes back and guards him. We don't want a full court pressure. At this point, we're doing a great job with our hands on closeouts, just being active. Now, Zach has the rim. This switches. Javion's doing a good job. Now Zach has to come up, and we didn't mind this catch from here. We were trying to make sure we kept the ball out of the paint. Now Zach has to engage. Now Thomas is at the rim. This is great recognition by Drez, and this is something that at the beginning of the year when we're really hard on guys and people are like, why are y'all going crazy over there? It's like the little things matter, and this is where Drez didn't. But as you see on penetration, what does he do? He sinks. And this guy's a phenomenal cutter.
Yeah.
So right out the gate, you can see he's a great passer. We do a great job of playing two here. Thomas plays cat and mouse at the rim. He backs up. Thomas stays composed, doesn't jump. Now Drez does it again where he goes in and goes out. Thomas stays down, and then just a heck of a play. And then how do you finish it? You rebound it with two hands. That's the part that probably is the most important part, because you can block a lot of shots, but do you end up with them or do they end up out of bounds? Thomas keeps it in bounds. Javion grabs it with two hands. And this is just great team defense and obviously some physicality without fouling.
Yes.
And Zach doesn't shove in with two hands. He shows his hands. His hands go straight up. Doesn't bail him out and get him to the free throw line. And it's late in the clock. Great job of lower body pressure by Zach and just showing hands. And then Thomas obviously finishes it with a great contest and gets a piece of it. Javion ends up with it.
I thought the biggest thing to me, which you brought up, was not jumping right here. It'd be easy just to step over and block for Thomas and just jump, try to just go straight up or something, but then he leans into you, gets a foul call. For neither one of them to jump is absurd. And Zach's obviously in position to where he has hands up just to show. For neither one of them to really jump until he leaves his feet is incredible discipline. Like, that's NBA level discipline. Like, that's not something you see at the college level a lot. So
a lot of time goes into that, as you know, so it's to their credit. These guys were committed to winning, and they were about doing whatever it took to figure out a way to get a win.
And then finally, we have the final buzzer over the biggest win in North Texas basketball history. I mean, James Reese comes up. He never misses free throws, really. It's still crazy to me that he had the wrist injury and then just played through it at the whole conference tournament and then comes out and has another really good game against Purdue. And final buzzer, incredible moment. Man, I don't know if there's anything you can say about this, but just a big moment, obviously one that you'll never forget, and nobody will ever forget.
Yeah, you know, when you're in preparation for all of it, the end of the season goes really fast. Like, you just go from, you know, because you're traveling, you go from conference tournament, we all packed for the whole deal.
Yeah.
Like, I packed for the whole NCAA tournament to play in the championship game. We all did, right? And so you go to the conference tournament. The way it worked this year is you went straight from the conference tournament. You didn't go home.
Yeah.
And we went straight on the plane. So you had to prepare for all of it. But you never know how it works out. So you finally get a chance to win and to make it to the NCAA tournament. And you plan on winning, obviously, but there's a lot that goes into it. And as Coach Hodge would say, there's another team that's also trying to win. So for us, we believed we were going to win. And to your point, I mean, even guys like James Reese, Javion Hamlet, Zach Simmons, those guys just never doubted that we were going to come out of this any other way than winning. And to see their confidence and, you know, probably a little over the top in regards to, like, we belong here in that regard, but maybe the feeling that we were the only ones that believed kind of is you know, what's coming out there. But super appreciative and a lot of respect for Purdue, really, in this, because we know how physical and talented they are, and
great team. You
know, for our guys to be able to fight through what you said was kind of a big comeback and a momentum shift on a dunk, and then to find a way to separate again. You know, Reese early in the year twisted his ankle against Rice and then played and wasn't going to play, could hardly walk, and just went and gutted it out. Javion Hamlet was always dealing with things and just would power through. Never missed a practice, not one here. Just every practice on the court competing. So when people see these highlights and them celebrating, the culmination of the guts that it takes to even endure a season and to fight through all this, and after the disappointment, I mean, I don't know if you can even put into words the joy that comes with that moment because of the hard work, but because of what you endure you know, as a program and as a team to get to that point. And I'm just reminded of like the first meetings, and just, we laugh about it now because we walk into the super pit and we walk into the E, and the belief that these guys approach every day with is really beautiful. And to our players' credits, they've worked, put themselves in the best position because of their approach and how they've done it every day. So cool celebration, a lot of joy there, but the hard work that went behind the scenes to make that happen. And guys like DJ Draper that we talked about that were there in the stands, Mike Miller, who's just a part of us and loves what we do and is really invested in what we did as a program. Those guys, you just appreciate the moments like this too. So a lot of neat things happened, but it wasn't possible without all the hard work that went into it by the staff and the guys.
Sure. Well, thanks for joining me, Coach. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again sometime. I mean, it's a lot of fun to sit here and watch. I'm a big X's and O's guy. I love just seeing the game. So seeing you being able to break it down is really fun, and I'm sure everybody enjoyed it.
We got more to come. Let's do it. GMG. Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it.